I've received a couple of requests, actually a few requests over the last few days to do some comparisons between my SIG P226 and its chubby little brother, the SIG P229. People want to see some differences between them physically, some externally, some differences internally. Both these guns come in 9mm and 40 caliber, so I thought I would take this chance now to do a little video showing a couple of the differences. First off, we'll compare the lengths. Of course, the P226 is a full-size length, and the P229 is more of a compact, so the P226 here is, of course, a lot longer. It is also a little bit taller, just a little bit. The grip's a little bit longer, but it is about a 1/4 inch less circumference around the grip, so the grip is actually a little thinner too. So it's a little longer, a little thinner, really makes it feel a lot better in my hand than the P229. The P229 is just a little bit on the fat side for me. It's to the extreme of what I can handle comfortably, whereas the P226 is more comfortable for me to hold. Okay, now we're going to see about thickness of the slides. My batteries went dead in my calipers here, so we're going to have to be able to read here. Okay, you can see that's about 1 and even less than 1/10, so like 1 1/20 of an inch for the P226. Slide width for the P229 is just a little over, like 1 3/20 of an inch. So like a 1/10 of an inch, a little less than 1/10 of an inch difference in thickness. But I'll tell you what, it feels a lot thicker, even though it's only like 1/10 of an inch thicker. Now the designs of the chamber are very different. This one is completely closed on one side, whereas this one's open. Just completely different shapes, completely different sizes. I don't know if it's because of the caliber or just the gun design. I haven't really compared the same calibers of each gun. But just a lot different looks to the chambering on these, on the open chamber part. But now I want to look inside of them, so now we'll just have to get them both apart. Now the frames of the guns are almost identical, especially internally here. The only real difference is, since this one has the shorter slide, it does have that cut at the front, that taper, whereas the P226 is just a flat front. But otherwise, very similar in design and style. There's just not a whole lot of difference between the two frames. Now, one thing that is different, I mean, other than the links, of course, the links of the guide rods are, of course, different because one's for a full-length gun, one's for more of a compact size slide. But another thing that's different is the guide rod is much beefier for the 229, and it's the 40 caliber, so that's probably because of the 40 caliber difference. The guide rod is thinner in the P226, and the coil, I don't know, let me see if I can get a real close up here. Let me see if I can get it to zoom in. Come on, zoom in, there we go. As you can see, that's, I think, a triple braided wire, whereas the one on the P229 is I think it's a 4 braid, it's at least a 4, and much tighter braid. So 3 wire braid on this one, it looks like a 4 wire braid on that one, so a stiffer recoil spring, but both of them are the braided wire recoil springs, which I really like these. Really fond of these kind of recoil springs. But both metal. I'd like to get some stainless ones for this gun, but both of these are metal ones, so I don't see any point in changing them real soon. But that's the big difference between the two guide rods. As far as the barrels go, very similar designs, of course. They're both SIGs, so there's not really much difference between them. Of course, this the 229, the 229 barrel is more squared off. It doesn't have the big jewel cut top on it, whereas the P226 does. I don't know if that's a model design difference or a caliber design difference. I assume it's a model design difference. Both barrels, pretty nice barrels here. So very similar in the barrels, just not a whole lot different, just that small little design difference. As far as inside the slides go, pretty much identical designs. Now there is a small difference in the way this one's cut out. This one has a much deeper recess cut into it. This one's much more shallow. I'm sure it has something to do with the design of the guns, of the trigger group on the guns. But that's the only real difference. Everything else, as you can see, just the length is different. But otherwise, very much similar. As you can see, this slide is much beefier than this slide, though. 9mm on the P226, 40 on the P229, much beefier. So there you have it. That's pretty much the insides and outs of the two different models of SIG there. Very similar guns, yet still very different in some ways. But overall, both real high quality, good SIG gun.